Hi guys, it's Sophie and I wanted to do a review video with you today and this one is about Patient HM by Dittritch. And really this is just a bit of a chance for me to shout out about this book a little bit. I am very positive about this if you're looking for something a little more critical. I think my video is just posted. If you're looking for something a little bit more critical, then you may need to look elsewhere because I have very positive feelings about Patient HM. So we'll do my standard, we'll do a little bit of an overview before we jump into any specifics. Okay, so Patient HM is a non-fiction book which is sort of two-pronged in its approach. One of the main storylines is about this patient HM, whose name is Henry. And Henry is one of, if not the most studied person in the whole of sort of neurology and the whole of sort of the science around memory and the ways in which brains function as a whole part and what happens if you adapt those. So the more sort of conversant of you around this topic will be fully aware that a lot of the ways in which people understand how the brain works is by looking at those whose brains have been damaged in some ways and seeing what effect that has, because the human brain is a very complicated thing and it wouldn't be ethical to sort of just randomly take pieces out and hope that it was okay. And so a patient like Henry, who's had an unusual procedure, we'll put it that way, he presents this really interesting example of someone who's had quite a large proportion of his brain removed, and he has, as an effect of this, I've called it sort of goldfish memory. So he has some historical memories, but for most of the time he lives in the present few seconds. As soon as he forgets what it is he's just spoken about, that entire thing is forgotten and he cannot remember any of the conversation, or the people he's met, or any of his life, or his age, any kind of memory whatsoever. And the other half of this storyline is about the surgeon who did this to Henry. And it's absolutely fascinating. So the other half of this story is about a lobotomist who was, at his time, a revered surgeon. And isn't the sort of monster of lobotomy sort of lore that you hear about, though he totally was. But he was sort of president of the like American Psychiatric Association, and was someone who was well respected. And this book sees both angles so beautifully. It has a fiction-like pacing. I know a few of you ask me, can you recommend any kind of non-fiction that reads like fiction or reads well, sort of really well done? Patient HM is a great example of a non-fiction book that reads as fiction does, and I think those of you who are already interested in this, but maybe you're worried by the non-fiction element, hopefully that sort of might convince you. I think that this is the kind of non-fiction book where I would say you have to be careful of spoilers, which is great too because it means that you really are invested in the story. I think that the author, it's his first sort of book that he's written, his first full-length piece. He's written articles before, but is a really exciting person to be looking out for. I really very much enjoyed his style of telling a story and just little ways he had with the book and engaging the reader. When I did my last review, which was of A Doubter's Almanac, I mentioned how I couldn't put it down. This is exactly the same. It was one of those books that you just didn't want to let go of, and I read it in a couple of days despite it being fairly long. So as I say, it's not something that's too critical, and I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was incredibly interesting. I thought it was, accessible, pacey, all of the things you want from a really good non-fiction book, and I just wanted to spread the word and sort of convince a few of you who are maybe umming and ahhing about whether or not to get it. Chuck this one on your Christmas lists, give yourself a present maybe, but it's well worth a read. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read Patient HM, and if so, what your thoughts were, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in my next Vlogmas video. Bye bye.